U.S. Defense Ministry has released images showing its fighter jets joining operation, codenamed Claw Sword.
The strikes carried out across northern Syria and Iraq are primarily against positions held by Syrian Kurdish forces. More details on this later in the news. Good evening. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alagao Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris vows unwavering commitment to the Philippines. Philippines rejects abortion, divorce, and same-sex marriage. At least 46 die, 700 injured in Indonesia quake. Mass shooting at Colorado nightclub leaves 5 dead, 18 others injured. And China reports first COVID-19 death in 6 months. U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris met with President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. in Malacanang Monday morning in a visit aimed to boost ties between the United States and the Philippines. Both leaders agree that the current relationship between the two countries is strong and they look forward to further strengthening it. Let's hear more from Eren Santos.
Vice President Kamala Harris has reiterated the United States' commitment to stand with the Philippines in defense of the international laws and norms on the South China Sea. Harris made a statement as she was welcomed in Malacanang by President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. for a courtesy call as part of her 3-day visit in the country. The U.S. Vice President said that as proud members of the Indo-Pacific, the relationship of the United States and the Philippines are based on mutual concerns about the region's security.
We are both proud members of the Indo-Pacific, and in particular, as it relates to the Philippines, I will say that we must reiterate always that we stand with you in defense of international rules and norms as it relates to the South China Sea. An armed attack on the Philippines' armed forces, public vessels, or aircraft in the South China Sea would invoke U.S. mutual defense commitments. And that is an unwavering commitment that we have to the Philippines.
She added that the U.S.-Philippines relation is a strong and enduring one. Harris told Marcos that it is under his leadership that we will see this relationship to further strengthen.
So again, I will reiterate that the alliance between the United States and the Philippines is a strong one, an enduring one, and only under your leadership continues to be strengthened. And we look forward to working with you on many of these issues.
For his part, President Marcos also told Vice President Harris that he doesn't see a future in the Philippines without the United States. The president added that the current upheavals the world is experiencing made a partnership between the United States and the Philippines even more important.
I have said many times, I do not see a future for the Philippines that does not include the United States. And that really has come from the very long relationship that we have had with the U.S. and the continuing to and of course we went through different phases of relationship, but as since the war, it has just been strengthened in every way, in the economic sense, in the political sense, defense, security. I cannot think of an area where we have not cooperated, collaborated, and have had good results for both our countries.
Before meeting with Marcos in Malacanang, Harris also paid a courtesy call with Vice President Sara Duterte. Harris is scheduled to visit Palawan on Tuesday, where she is expected to make a remark on the importance of freedom of navigation and international law on the South China Sea. Harris is the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Manila since Marcos assumed office in June. Eden Santos reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, Connected, on point.
U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to the Philippines also brings new programs and loan packages for the Philippines. A statement from the White House said the Vice President's visit will spur cooperation on a range of issues, including advancing clean energy, addressing the climate crisis, promoting inclusive growth and innovation, increasing access to quality education and health resources, combating trafficking in persons, facing common security challenges, supporting freedom of the seas, and deepening people-to-people ties. On elevating the U.S.-Philippines health security partnership, the United States intends to invest $5 million to further accelerate vaccine rollout through the Global Vax Initiative. The U.S. government has provided nearly $50 million in assistance for the Philippines' COVID-19 response and donated more than 33 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines through the COVAX facility. The White House also said U.S. and the Philippines establish an energy policy dialogue to develop new forms of energy cooperation, including the Initiative for 123 Agreement or negotiations for civil nuclear energy cooperation. Once in force, this agreement will provide the legal basis for U.S. exports of nuclear equipment and material to the Philippines to increase energy security and deploying advanced nuclear reactor technology as quickly as safety and security conditions permit to meet the Philippines' dire baseload power needs. The United States has also allocated $82 million for the implementation of Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, or EDCA, where additional joint military facilities will be constructed in locations including Antonio Bautista Air Base in Palawan, Basa Air Base in Pampanga, Fort Ramon Magsaysay in Nueva Ecija, Mactan Benito Ebuen Air Base in Cebu, and Lubia Air Base in Cagayan de Oro. This investment, according to the White House, would enable both countries to build lasting security infrastructure to promote long-term modernization, build a credible mutual defense posture, maintain humanitarian assistance and disaster relief capabilities, and enhance the strength of the alliance.
Former President and currently Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo believes President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. has made a very good impression during his participation at the recently concluded Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC Summit in Bangkok, Thailand. Arroyo was part of the president's delegation at the APEC Summit. She also accompanied the president during his bilateral meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping, where Marcos Jr. described her presence as very important in setting the tone for the discussion. Arroyo said as his first appearance as president on the world stage, President Marcos Jr. wooed not only his colleagues, but also great economic thinkers of the world.
Well, it was his first appearance as president on the world stage, because the Asia-Pacific region covers more than half of the world's economies. And he certainly made a very good impression on the leaders of the very important economies, and not only the very important economies, also on the great economic thinkers of the world.
Sidelines of the APEC meeting, the president also met with other world leaders, including the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, French President Emmanuel Macron, and other possible investors from Thailand.
Before capping his trip to Thailand following his participation at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC Summit in Bangkok, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. met with the Filipino community in Thailand. During his meeting with the Overseas Filipino Workers, or OFWs, President Marcos announced the establishment of a new Philippine Overseas Labor Office, or POLO, in Thailand. This, he said, would help in the promotion and protection of the rights and welfare of the Filipinos in the kingdom. Marcos said with the new POLO office, the government would be able to easily attend to the needs of Filipinos working and living in Thailand. The president also recognized the importance of overseas Filipino workers, who he called ambassadors of the Philippines, as he vowed to do everything to strengthen the growth of the Philippine economy while providing more jobs for the Filipinos.
The Department of Justice has invited the United Nations Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial killings to clarify allegations on the country's human rights violations. Moira Encina reports.
United Nations Special Rapporteur on extrajudicial summary Dr. Morris Tidball-Beans is expected to arrive in the Philippines early 2023. This following the invitation made to him by the country through the DOJ.
So we invited Special Rapporteur on EJ case, Dr. Tidball-Beans, to come over so that we can do capacity building so that we can train more forensic pathologists in the country. Why? Well, one is, of course, if there are murders or there are deaths that are untimely in the provinces, at least they can help us with the investigations. If our people are trained already in the art and the science of forensic pathology, then we will have experts determining the results.
Secretary Espinamula said the invitation is a follow-up on the program agreed by the Philippines with the UN Joint Program on Human Rights. Remulla added for now, there are only 2 legitimate and internationally accepted forensic pathologists in the Philippines because the rest are all medical legal experts. One of the long-term reasons for inviting the Special Rapporteur is the capacity building for calamities. Remulla set an example what happened to Typhoon Yolanda, where there is a need to process thousands of victims' remains. He said many international forensic pathologists came to the Philippines to assist in identifying the victims, including Dr. Tidball-Beans.
Be in communications with the UNJP office about the arrangements to be made. Kasi this is capacity building, meaning to say every region is involved, every part of the country is involved. We want every region to have a forensic, a medical legal who is also a forensic pathologist, or at least trained already in forensic pathology.
Meanwhile, Remulla also said the country also invited the UN Special Rapporteur on the sale of children, child prostitution, and child pornography, and the Special Rapporteur on freedom of expression.
And we are hoping to engage them. We are hoping to invite them to the DOJ for a special dialogue for any issue that they want.
Remulla stressed this proves the country is open to suggestions of the international community to improve the human rights situation in the Philippines.
That there are problems within the system, but who is open to suggestions and open to improving whatever situation there is here. We do not hardball and say that's not true. What we're saying is that if there's room for improvement, we will take it on. And I think it's the attitude that is really healthy for international relations.
Moira Encina reporting for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Philippines has rejected recommendations from member states of the United Nations Human Rights Council, or UNHRC, to legalize abortion, divorce, and same-sex marriage. Justice Undersecretary Raul Vasquez said the Philippines has outright rejected the recommendations because of the country's national identity, religious beliefs, and cultural traditions. Vasquez added the need to uphold and protect the Philippine sovereignty at all times. The Department of Justice earlier reported that it accepted 200 recommendations during the Universal Periodic Review, a peer review mechanism of the UNHRC. Meanwhile, other major recommendations accepted by the country include the promotion of the rights of children, protection of women's rights, the promotion of the rights of indigenous people, and greater protection of civic space.
Inflation rate is expected to accelerate to 8% in the last part of this year. Economist Michael Ricafort of Rizal Banking Corporation made the projection following Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or BSP's move to increase to 5.8%, the average inflation rate forecast this year. The move aims to support the peso against the dollar or to avoid further depreciation of the currency against the greenback. BSP's move to amend the average inflation this year and in 2023 is expected to signal the possibility of increases in central banks' key rates. Coming up, Russia and Ukraine accuse each other of shelling Zaporizhzhia power plant. China reports first COVID-19 death in 6 months. And Indonesia quake leaves at least 46 people dead, over 700 injured. Mata ng Agila International will be right back.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Usapang internet connection.
Bakit po nananatiling mabagal pa rin ang internet?
Oversubscribed, lack of infrastructure. 30% of our Filipino are not reachable by this technology yet.
Posible ba ang Digital Pilipinas? Yan ang hahanapan ng sagot kasama si Atty. Sal Panelo at Dennis Anthony Uy, CEO ng Converge ICT. Sa Counterpoint, tuwing Miyerkules alas 10:30 ng gabi dito sa Net 25.
Meron din isang Dennis Uy na sumikat. Napaka...
The news continues here on Mata ng Agila International. An earthquake shook Indonesia's main island, Java, on Monday, leaving damages to lives and properties. As per the latest report, at least 46 people died and around 700 people are being treated for injuries. According to Herman Suherman, head of the local administration in Cianjur, figures denoting the number of affected people after the quake only came from one hospital. Meanwhile, the surrounding villages must still be evacuated as others are believed to be trapped under the ruins of buildings. For his part, the head of Indonesia's meteorological agency, Dwi Korita Karnawati, reminded people to stay outside the buildings for now as possible aftershocks may occur.
At least 5 people were killed and 25 were injured in a shooting at the nightclub in Colorado Springs on Sunday, according to local police. Colorado Springs Police Department spokesperson Lieutenant Pamela Castro said that at 11:57 p.m. local time, police received an initial call of an active shooter. Castro added that numerous officers and medical personnel immediately responded to the area, and officers immediately made entry. According to Castro, the suspect is being treated at a local hospital after police found one individual who turned out to be the suspect. Colorado police revealed the identity of the gunman who opened fire. Anderson Lee Aldrich, 22, was identified as the gunman who fired a rifle inside the club where revelers were reportedly commemorating the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which honors trans people who have been victims of violent attacks. Police are continuously responding to the mass shooting. Following the mass shooting at Club Q earlier today, President Biden called for an assault weapons ban.
President Joe Biden said Sunday Americans cannot and must not tolerate hate, hours after at least 5 people were killed and 25 injured in a mass shooting at a nightclub in Colorado. According to Biden, the motive for the attacks is not yet identified. However, it slammed violence against a community in recent years. Biden added that such as a nightclub, is supposed to be a safe place of acceptance and celebration and should never be turned into places of terror and violence. With such instances happening far too often, Biden advised that people must drive out the discrimination that contributes to violence against a certain community.
China has reported its first death from COVID-19 in 6 months. On Sunday, officials announced an 87-year-old man in Beijing had succumbed to the virus. They say the man had a mild case which worsened after a bacterial infection. The National Health Commission says it recorded more than 24,000 cases of COVID-19 in the previous 24 hours. The country has been struggling to contain a rising outbreak despite stringent measures to eliminate the infection. China has enforced lockdowns, mass testing, and quarantines while the rest of the world adjusts to living with the virus. In Beijing, some shopping malls were closed while others reduced hours or banned table service at restaurants. Hong Kong's leader John Lee tests positive for COVID-19.
This was confirmed by the government today, a few days after he met Chinese President Xi Jinping and other leaders of state in Bangkok, Thailand. Lee was in Thailand's capital last week for an Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, and his office reported that he tested negative on rapid antigen tests for all 4 days he was there. According to a government statement, the chief executive is being quarantined in accordance with the Center for Health Protection's guidelines. The APEC summit was Lee's first travel abroad since the pandemic started over 3 years ago, and his first since becoming the leader of Hong Kong in July. At the forum, Lee met Chinese President Xi Jinping, Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha, Singaporean Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong, Indonesian President Joko Widodo, Vietnamese President Nguyen Phuc, and other senior officials. Lee sat beside Xi and Widodo at the Informal Leaders Summit on Friday, where all three were seen unmasked.
Turkey made a counterattack last week after it was bombed, killing 6 people. Turkey said on Sunday that it had carried out airstrikes against outlawed Kurdish militants' bases in northern Syria and Iraq, alleging that they were being used to launch terrorist attacks on Turkish soil. They attacked 89 targets, including the Kurdistan Workers' Party, or PKK, and the Syrian Kurdish YPG militia, according to the Turkish Defense Ministry. On November 13, a bomb exploded on Istiklal Avenue in Istanbul. The blame of Ankara, the capital city of Turkey, is the Kurdish militants. The strikes targeted PKK bases in northern Iraq's mountainous regions of Kandil, Assos, and Hakurk, as well as YPG bases in Ain al-Arab, Tal Rifat, Jazeera, and Derik in Syria, according to the ministry. Ankara regards the YPG as a PKK-affiliated terror organization.
Ukrainian nuclear energy agency Energoatom said Sunday that Russia shelled the territory of the Zaporizhia nuclear plant shortly after Moscow accused Kyiv of hitting the site of the power station. Russian army on Sunday said Kyiv does not stop its provocations, aiming at creating the threat of a man-made catastrophe at the nuclear power plant. It also said in a statement that despite shelling on November 19 and 20, radiation levels in the nuclear power plant remain normal. UN atomic watchdog chief Rafael Grossi said the news of the explosion on the nuclear power plant is disturbing and completely unacceptable.
The West's attempts to persuade Ukraine to negotiate with Moscow after a series of major military victories by Kyiv are bizarre and amount to asking for its capitulation, a key advisor to the Ukrainian presidency said. Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, said this would mean that the country that recovers its territories must capitulate to the country that is losing. U.S. media recently reported that some senior officials were beginning to encourage Ukraine to consider talks, which Zelensky has so far rejected, without a prior withdrawal of Russian forces from all Ukrainian territory. According to Podolyak, Moscow has not made any direct proposal to Kyiv for peace talks, preferring to transmit them through intermediaries and even raising the possibility of a ceasefire. Kyiv sees such talks as mere maneuvering by the Kremlin to win some respite on the ground and prepare a new offensive. Despite Russia's heavy military defeats in recent weeks, including Ukraine retaking the key southern city of Kherson, President Vladimir Putin still thinks he can destroy Ukraine. This is his obsession, and negotiating with him makes no sense, Podolyak argued. He also denied the West was trying to pressure Ukraine into negotiating.
The Japanese government loses a third minister in a month. Japan's Internal Affairs Minister resigned on Sunday over a series of campaign finance scandals, becoming the third member of Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's cabinet to step down in less than a month. Minoru Terada quits over allegations of mismanagement of political funds. He had acknowledged to Parliament that his local campaign group had even listed a dead person as its treasurer in annual financial statements. Other accusations published by the weekly Shukan Bunshin magazine included illegal payments to staff during his re-election campaign last year. Terada's exit came on the final day of Kishida's diplomatic tour to Thailand for the APEC summit and ahead of budget deliberations in Parliament. The string of cabinet departures has been dubbed by Japanese media as resignation dominoes and will pile further pressure on Kishida. The approval rating for Kishida's government is barely more than 30%. It's the lowest level since he took office last year, according to the latest NHK poll. Opponents of Peru President Pedro Castillo's administration marched toward the government palace in downtown Lima a day before a high mission from the Organization of American States, or OAS, visits the country at the request of the government. According to a protester, the OAS does not come to hear them because the commission is already prepared with what they say are scripted talks. The protesters question the planned visit of the OAS because it looks as if its objective is to give a boost to Peter Prison, the little offender Teruzones, also known as the puppet of President Pedro Castillo. Additionally, protesters disagree with Castillo and his whole political party, which they see as a corrupt group and a criminal organization. Meanwhile, a protester asked the OAS for a systematized process to better understand their complaints.
Lo que esperamos es que la misión de la OEA que ha venido venga con ojos de ver y oídos de oír para ver las denuncias que hay presentadas por la Fiscalía que tienen que ser analizadas, la denuncia por traición a la patria que está en curso, las mociones de vacancia, y para que se comprenda, en el Perú no hay ninguna perturbación democrática. Hay un pueblo que se expresa, que protesta y que quiere que se produzca un cambio. Por eso estamos aquí.
When we return, Brazil observes Black Awareness Day. Former U.S. President Donald Trump reinstated on Twitter. And Kanye West announces plans to run again in the 2024 presidential polls. All these and more when we return here on Mata ng Agila International.
This portion. Ngayong linggo sa Cine Throwback.
I remember we were in Paris playing at the Olympia. A telegram came through and said, "Congratulations, boys, #1 in America. Hold your hand." It was like,
before the plane landed, I could feel New York. It was an incredible sensation. It's like, come on down, boys.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down.
Ngayong linggo, 12:00 ng tanghali. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Panalo tayo pag together. Walang talo pag together. Let's dance together. Sa Net 25.
Kung kayo po ay may sumbong o reklamo sa inyong lugar na gusto po ninyong paaksyonan, mga katiwalian at insidente na dapat ibunyag, isend nyo po ang mga nakunang larawan o video sa aming pong email, responde@net25.com, Facebook page at Net25TV at Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan FB page. Pwede po kayo mag-text sa 0915-415-1035. Gawin po nating viral ang inyong pong sumbong na may katapat na aksyon at responde. Mapapanood nyo kami sa mga sumusunod na mga channels. Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi. Ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Protesters took to the streets of Sao Paulo in Brazil to mark Black Awareness Day. A few thousand people took part in the 19th edition of the March for Black Consciousness. They want racial issues to be a priority for the newly elected government of President-elect Luis Inácio Lula da Silva. Black Awareness Day is observed every November 20th in Brazil. The day highlights the problems that slavery brought to Brazil and that still affects Black people, such as inequality and violence.
People in western New York State spent the weekend digging out of about 2-meter-high snow in their driveways. Some regions received, or at times, the snow was falling at the rate of more than 7.5 centimeters an hour. Although police issued travel bans, some motorists still braved the harsh conditions. Authorities responded to 88 crashes and had to rescue about 280 stranded travelers. Crews have been working around the clock to clear streets, roads, and highways. At least 2 deaths related to the storm have been reported, and apparently they died after suffering heart attacks from shoveling snow. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called in the National Guard to help with the aftermath of the snowstorm. About 150 Guard members are helping out, transporting people who require dialysis.
Donald Trump has been allowed back on Twitter. Elon Musk reinstated the former president's account after users on the social media platform voted by a slim majority to welcome him back. Twitter suspended Trump's account in 2021 after the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol. The company said Trump violated Twitter's guidelines, adding it felt there was a risk of further incitement of violence if he was allowed to continue to post. But it's unclear whether Trump will be tweeting anytime soon. On Saturday, he said he had no interest in returning to Twitter. Instead, he says he will use his own platform, Truth Social.
Well, rapper Kanye West will run for U.S. president in 2024 after failing in the 2020 elections, and that he has already announced. Earlier, a Twitter account called Patriot Takes posted a video on the platform directly asking West if he will run for president in 2024. West replied yes. And at the beginning of the video, West introduces a person called Milo, who he claims is working on the campaign. The rap website reports Milo is Milo Yiannopoulos, a disgraced far-right commentator who recently served as an intern for U.S. Representative for Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene. As of now, the origin of the video and the person who is asking questions to West is unknown, and the video posted on Twitter was already disabled due to copyright issues. Back in November 2020, West pulled the plug on his previous bid for the White House, saying he would vote for himself. But he had lost to Joe Biden, who won the election from Donald Trump. Meanwhile, on November 16, twice impeached former President Donald Trump announced he would also be running again in the 2024 poll. The former candidates are set to face off against each other to claim the highest position in the United States. More than 3 million middle schoolers and high school students reported tobacco use this year. This is something that the nation's top health agency says threatens the youth. We have Julian Bukayan for the report.
The U.S. Food and Drug Administration and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released a study that finds 3 million middle school and high school students in the U.S. with reported tobacco use in 2022. This study finds that 2.5 million are in high school and 530,000 are in middle school. Non-Hispanic Black students reported the highest percentage of combustible tobacco product use, including cigar use. The CDC says that commercial tobacco product use continues to threaten the nation's youth, and disparities in youth tobacco product use persist. The health agency underscores that by addressing the factors leading to tobacco use and helping young people quit, they may be given the best opportunity to live their healthiest lives. Julian Bukayan, San Diego, California, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Struggling to find a good place to buy kale to produce green juice, Sophie Kim sought after a farmer, then built an app to help others seek out top-quality produce. According to Kim, a self-processed foodie, it is hard to find high-quality fresh food in Korea's supermarkets. Her problem was solved after meeting farmers and fishermen who produce quality products but hardly find consumers. Through their partnership, consumers can now access high-quality fresh products within a day. From being harvested, the goods go straight to the consumer's doorstep. Moreover, to feel more connected to people who eat what they grow, the app was used to receive comments that serve as an evaluation of their products. Through the environment and technology, it is no wonder that people can live more easily and productively than ever.
Next on Mata ng Agila International, Tesla recalls 321,000 vehicles in the U.S. for taillight problem. A museum in Texas celebrates Indigenous Heritage Month. And Net25's Let's Net Together Kabayan, a mega hit in Dubai. These and more news when we return.
Ang Quezon City, sarap panoorin. Sa Quezon City, balay tawag gagawin. Kaya sa Quezon City Show, sumama na lahat tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Kung ika'y lonely, wala kang magawa. Walang magawa daw. Sa Quezon City, sa laptop ka matadapa. Kaya buksan ang TV nyo. Sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City, sa Quezon City. Buong pamilya, pati ang barkada. Ang inyong aso, pati inyong mga pusa. Magsama-sama tropa nyo. Sa Quezon City na tayo. Sa Quezon City. Sa Quezon City. Okay nga eh. Yun. Okay?
Naging background dancer ni Vilma
Yung mga gumaganon.
Anong secret?
Number one secret is Scarlett. I want to be with her. So I kept praying, Lord, please give me time.
Tissue, please. Pwede kumuyain ngayon yan?
Yeah.
Ang dami na ngayong mga artista ang nakakapasok sa lehislatura.
That's part of democracy, hindi ba?
Raymond, I love the dog. So you're in love.
Yes.
What do you call this dish?
It's an Indian dish.
Gisa-gisa pag may time. Lahat ng yan at maraming iba pa, watch out for it here on Corina Interviews.
Good food, good times, good news. Balik kusina na naman ang inyong paboritong cooking show.
nakakam na recipes, masarap na kwentuhan, at walang sawang tawanan. Kasama ng ating espesyal na celebrity guests, na tiyak na magdadala ng kasiyahan, kasama ang aking pinsan na si Sandy Daza.
Kain na! Dito lamang sa Lutong Daza sa Net25.
We now welcome you back with more global news here on Agila International. Tesla recalls more than 321,000 vehicles in the United States because of a taillight issue. In the latest trouble to hit the electric vehicle giant led by controversial billionaire Elon Musk. It is the latest of multiple Tesla recalls in the United States in recent months, including one for just over 40,000 vehicles for a possible problem in the electric power steering system. The company explains that the rear lights on the affected cars light up intermittently because of a software problem. Brake lights, backup lights, and turn signals are not affected. Tesla plans a free remote software update to fix the problem on the affected Model 3 and Model Y 2020 to 2023 cars. The automaker said it was not aware of any incidents or injuries related to the problem. Tesla already made several recalls in the United States this year to remotely modify potentially problematic features.
In NBA news last Friday night, the Washington Wizards hosted the Miami Heat. Our correspondent DJ Gonzalez was there to witness the matchup. Here's his report.
What up, sports fans? I'm here at Capital One Arena where the Washington Wizards are taking on the Miami Heat. Here's what went down.
The Wizards were looking to bounce back after a one-point loss to the Thunder last Wednesday night, and they took on the Miami Heat, who were without Oladipo, Butler, Adebayo, and Hero. Heat were in control, though, for the majority of the game, but the Wizards were able to mount a comeback which seemed to be sparked by the veteran guard Taj Gibson. Wizards stars Kyle Kuzma, Bradley Beal, and Kristaps Porzingis had their usual production, but the others for the Wizards stepped up tonight, including 17 points from the second-year guard Corey Kispert. Our correspondent Ken Cruz asked what the coach says to motivate their young guard, and this is what he said.
So it's a credit to his work ethic. He puts in a lot of time, and to see how he's responded. Coming back from injury, it wasn't perfect, but he's kind of found his rhythm. So, it's a good sign for him. It's great for us that he's making shots and playing at a high level.
The Wizards defeat the Heat in overtime, 107-106, and improve to a record of 9-7 to start this season. This is EJ Gonzalez from the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. for Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Four-time world champion Sebastian Vettel retired from Formula One in a reflective mood on Sunday after finishing 10th in his farewell race at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The 35-year-old father of three, who said he wanted to depart the sport to spend more time with his family, among other things, scored a solitary point for his Aston Martin team in a frustrating strategic race. According to Vettel, he enjoyed the race, and for him, it was a bit of a different warm-up to get into, but once the lights went off, he was full-on race mode. He referred to this as the many celebrations he experienced with well-wishers before the start. Many who followed this progress from a cheeky babyface assassin blessed with speed and a gift for languages with a passion for English humor, to the urban and thoughtful long-haired leader of good causes will be sad to see him go. As Vettel departed to go home and continues his fight for diversity, equality, inclusivity, and human rights, he left friends and rivals with an example and a career to remember.
Jason David Frank, who played the Green Power Ranger in the original hit 1990s television series, has died at the age of 49. According to Frank's manager Justine Hunt. They're asking for respect for the privacy of Frank's family and friends during this time. As of the moment, there has been no official cause of death yet. Frank rose to prominence in 1993 as Tommy Oliver in the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers franchise. Fans will recall how he first appeared as the Green Ranger in Season 1, initially as an enemy of the Power Rangers. Frank played one of the main characters in 3 seasons and 123 episodes. Tickets to the variety show of Net25 was held in the heart of the agenda, Media City, last November 19. The first ever variety show of Net25 was led by Tito, Vic, and Joey, or TVJ. They were joined by Kada Umaga hosts Pia Guanyo, Tony Pet Gaba, Wedge Kujamat, and Diana Meneses. The cast and crew of Quezon City sitcom were also part of the Net25's Let's Net Together Kabayan show. Another celebrity of the Net25 show that brought entertainment to the Filipinos in Dubai was Empoy Marquez. Let's Net Together Kabayan brought happiness, so much fun, and excitement to Filipinos living in the UAE. The crowd also enjoyed watching a high-quality entertainment given by the talented Pinoy artists who are now one family in Net25. November is Native American Heritage Month, and in celebration, the Corpus Christi Museum of Science and History in Texas holds an Indigenous Heritage Day to teach about the indigenous tribes that once populated this area, their history, culture, and even their artwork. Jane Kathleen Gregorio reports.
In commemoration of Native American Heritage Month, the Corpus Christi Museum of Science and History hosted an Indigenous Heritage Day, which gives the general public a chance to connect with the past. This interactive day-long event included films showcasing Native American tribal dances, documentaries on social issues, artifacts, exhibits, family activities, and the opportunity to create your own Native American-inspired artwork.
So in Heritage Day, that we're doing here at the museum, we're spreading the knowledge of Native American culture and history and art for everybody to come and participate and learn here at their Museum of Science and History. And we have all kinds of things for people to enjoy. We have some artifacts that have never seen the museum floor before. And we also have stations where people can participate in old Native American art traditions like ledger art, where they take old ledger paper and put some colored pencils to it and make some drawings. Or they can do traditional Navajo sand art. They can pour some sand down and create some images and beautiful pictures.
And so today we're doing sand painting. So this is something that I've just been kind of messing around with. And basically what you do is you grab a Q-tip and then you dip it in some glue right here that we have. And then you can basically draw whatever shape you want with the glue. I'm gonna do another square right here, orange. And then you're just gonna kind of spill it like this. It's gonna look a little messy, but you just spill it like that on the square. And then you grab the paper, and you just dump the excess back in here, and then you're left with your square shape. And then that's kind of the process for the sand painting.
Well, records show that there were many Native Americans passing through the area, but the main tribe that actually called this coastal region home, as far as like Corpus Christi through Rockport and Padre Island, were the Karankawa. We have a statue of a Karankawa Native American in a canoe. To my left over here, we have the La Salle. That's when the French first came over and met the Karankawa. In the front of the museum, we have the shipwreck of 1554. That's when the Spaniards were coming out of New Spain, which is now Mexico, and a hurricane blew them off course, and they crashed onto the beaches of Padre Island and met the Karankawa for the first time. So, I am wearing a traditional Native American choker. This was traditionally an armor piece, and it was to protect our vital arteries. And this is a beautiful chest piece I'm wearing. This would have stopped rocks and arrows from penetrating my center chest region. So originally this was armor, but over the centuries they've made the transition. Now they're ceremonial regalia pieces. And I wear these when I talk about my Native American history and the culture of Native Americans.
Jane Kathleen Gregorio, Matandang Agila International, Corpus Christi, Texas. Trusted, connected, on point.
South African Precious Moloy Motsepe, one of the richest women in Africa, is a staunch promoter of fashion designers from the young, vibrant, and culturally diverse continent. With a dream to produce globally competitive fashion designers and make a notable mark for fashion design, Moloy Motsepe founded the Johannesburg and Cape Town Fashion Weeks. Now, for a decade and a half, the 58-year-old brand owner and African designer now indulges in recognitions. According to the wife of Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe, their local designs were being worn at musical awards and football awards, which definitely gained household names. Additionally, she proudly shared that celebrities Michelle Obama and Beyoncé now wear African brands. With a gift of talent and experience in fashion design, Moloy Motsepe was given a chance to travel and attend Paris fashion shows with talented designer John Galliano.
Yes.
I love her creation.
Oh, yeah, and the colors, so vibrant.
The colors.
Like what we're wearing right now.
That's right. And it's only a Monday, you guys. And to help you start your week, here is a quote from Chris Grosser, an American chef and businessman. Opportunities do not happen. You create them. I remember having this conversation with my mom because she was asking me to help one of my sisters, and she said, you know, you're lucky because you have opportunities. And I said, Mom, most of the opportunities that happened to me were opportunities that I chased.
Exactly.
So I created them for myself.
And you know how among Filipinos it is, we only have like a list of things that we want to be. But you can actually create your own. You notice how there are so many like job descriptions nowadays compared to only 10, 20 years ago?
That's right.
Because we create them for ourselves.
That's true. And you have to find that window where you will excel in the world.
Find your niche.
Find your niche. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I'm CJ Hero.
And I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Makintab na po na.
Parang may paano, mga tanay pa siya.